Hi guys, this is Mrs. Bilby coming to you from my basement studio today, and we're going to talk a little bit about different kinds of plants. Okay, you guys are familiar with plants that grow in dirt, correct? Similar to these, I have a palm, I have a fern, and there's a little leafy one over here. And this one over here, this gets pretty little white flowers on it, and these grow in dirt. We're all familiar with these. We see them growing outside. You can grow them in the house. We grow them in our school buildings. And we know that they need soil and water, correct? We also have other types of plants that grow in different types of things. So this plant actually is growing in a little bit of dirt and moss. Does anybody know what kind of plant this is? That's right. It's a Venus flytrap, and it's a baby one. And what do we know about Venus flytraps? What do you know about this kind of plant and that type of leaf right there? That's right. These type of plants can actually eat meat. Now, I don't have any meat to feed it today, but I'm going to show you how it works. I can do that right here. Let me move this plant out of the way. A Venus flytrap actually has these cool leaves on it at the end, and they have these little fingers. You can see them kind of there, and those are little sensors. And when something lands inside this plant, inside that little leaf, those sensors can feel it, and they actually will close up. Let's see if we can get a leaf to close up. I'm going to touch its feelers. Let's see if we can wake it up. That one's tired. Let's try a different one. This plant is been a little dried out, so it might be a little tired. So here's another one. I'm going to tickle its leaves. Nope. I guess it doesn't want metal. Let's try touching it with my finger. I don't think it's very happy. Maybe it's not hungry. Anyway, a bug will land inside of this, and this leaf will close up around that bug, and when it does, then it will stay closed until the plant actually eats or absorbs all the nutrients from that bug. When it opens back up, there's nothing left. Typically what you'll find these using or eating the most are flies. You can, believe it or not, give it raw hamburger. Now, if I had some today, I'd show you how that works, but I don't happen to have any raw hamburger readily available. But that's a Venus flytrap, okay? And that grows in moss and a little bit of soil, okay? I have another plant here. This is an orchid. Now, orchids grow in something a little bit different, and I'm going to see if I can get this one out of here so you can see. They actually grow in coconut bark. Now, this is kind of cool because, look, you can see all of the roots. Not only are they coming out at the top, but they're coming out down here in the pot and out of the bottom. Isn't that cool? Okay, so this plant grows in coconut bark, which is just like it sounds. It's pieces of wood from coconuts. And the reason it does that is because coconut bark will hold moisture. Now, this plant doesn't require a lot of water. It gets 1 to 2 ice cubes a week. Now you think, when you fill your ice cube trays full, how much water is actually in there? That's right, there's not much water in an ice cube, is there? So this takes 1 to 2 ice cubes a week, and if you give it too much, it'll actually kill this plant. It needs that very little bit of water. And by doing that, if you give it just that little bit of water, then it will grow these shoots, and at the very end, you'll get a bud. This one's getting ready to bloom. They like the sunshine. They're not an outdoor plant here in Michigan. We keep this one in the house, and they're kind of finicky. They're hard to grow, so I'm pretty proud of this one. I've had this one for about 3 years now, and you can see it's got all these funky little roots growing out all over, and these would go out in search of more substrate or more coconut bark to grow in. Okay, so let's put that one away. Let's talk about some other plants. So we've talked about plants that grow in dirt, right? or in coconut bark or moss. What about plants that don't need dirt or soil? So let's talk about one just like this right here. This is a bamboo plant, and I have it in a vase, and in this vase I actually have those little water beads, you probably call them Orbeez, and that's all I have in here. And I haven't watered this one yet, so I can pull it out and show you the root system on it. But this plant grows, and you can see it has some of the Orbeez caught in it. But this is the root system of this bamboo shoot. Now, I've had this piece of bamboo for 3 years now, and it's grown right here inside this vase. Now, if I were to put it in a bigger pot, it would probably do a little bit better. I noticed something new with it though. The sun is shining better in my front window now, or in my kitchen window, and look what's coming right here. That's right, it's getting a new shoot. That means it's going to have some new green leaves on it. Now, this particular plant, all I have to do is give it water, because that's all it needs. It just needs to be wet. And my water has evaporated because my house is very dry like right now. So the air in my house has sucked up all the moisture from here. So we're going to give it a little bit of water, just like that. And that's all that kind of plant needs. Now let's talk about some other plants that only use water. Okay, these plants are called Tillandsia, and they're the type of plants that you see growing on tropical trees in tropical areas. They don't need any dirt. In fact, they need very little water. I have a variety of different ones here, and I'm going to show them all to you, and I'm going to explain to you how I know when they need a drink of water, and we're going to give them one today. So I went to Florida various times, and I've collected a variety of these type of plants. In Florida, you will typically, if you've been there and you've looked at the bushes or the trees, you'll see this particular Tillandsia that grows on the side of the trees. It's really skinny, and it's, I don't know, what would you call those? Leaves? We'll call them leaves. It does have a root system. It's right back here. That's what hooks onto the tree. This one, actually, I think there are two here. Here's another one. Let's pull this one off so you can see it really good. So here's the root system, and then this is the plant itself. These roots, look at how curly they are. They can grab right hold of a tree. And sometimes these will get wet enough, they'll actually bloom, and there'll be a tiny little white flower come up out of them. They're really cool. So this is a little one, and actually I think there's another. They get really tangled up. You can't tell sometimes. So this is a big one. This is a big one. And there's the root system for it, where it would hook onto the tree. Okay, so I'm going to set these over here. That's one kind I have. Now I have a lot of different kinds. I have these great big ones like this. These are kind of cool. These are great big ones. And this is their root system on the bottom. You can see there. It's not quite the same as the other one. You generally won't see these in Florida hanging on the trees, but you can buy them if you go to some of the local markets, and that's where I've gotten these from. Now, I will tell you something interesting about these plants. You can see here, these are both doubles. That means there's a plant here and there's a plant here. Actually, this is a triple. There's a plant here, there's a plant here, and there's another one back here. So there's actually 3 plants. 1, 2, 3. You can see the 3 centers there. Now, when this plant, this is the original plant here, when this plant bloomed, it came up with a big, pretty flower. It makes a much more colorful flower. But one thing interesting with these, once they bloom, once one plant blooms, it can produce another plant right on it. And so this one has actually produced twins. It has one here and one here. Now, if you notice, these are a little fuller and happier looking than this sad one back here. And if you really look down in there, you can see it's actually starting to die out. And that's what typically will happen, is the original plant will die out, and then all the nutrients go to the new plants. Okay, So I have those kind. I have another one. This one I really like. I call him my octopus. Is he not cool or what? And there's his root system. Kind of scrawny and wild. Kind of looks like a little alien. I have one that's spiky, just like this right here. Okay. I have a little one like this, and this one you can see this bloomed about a year ago, and it produced two, well no, I guess it produced one, and if you look really close you can see the bloom in this one drying up, and here's the baby it's producing. But if you'll notice, this one's starting to die off. So then these will be the two plants that I have. And then the last one I have is kind of colorful. It has, if you look, hopefully you can see it in the camera, there are lots of colors in this one. You see the reds? And that's just a different kind. And it's the same way, it has a root system like this. So let me show you how I care for these. So I keep these upstairs over my sink in the window. They don't get direct sunlight, but they do get a lot of light. And the way you take care of these is you take a bowl, or I've got a glass jar here, and I pour in some water. And I know these need a drink. And the reason I know that is if I look at them, if you really look at this, it's very shriveled up. It's got some brown on it, kind of shrivelly looking. So that tells me that this needs a drink. And the way that you give these a drink is you put them in the water and you let them soak. Now this jar is a little small. Normally I use a big bowl and I just put them all in. But this needs to soak. Now this needs to soak for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I do that with all of these. And that's how you water them and care for them. And then when they're done, I set them back up on my windowsill. I have some pretty decorative shelves or shells and things that I can set them down in. This one definitely needs a drink, and I'm going to see if I can get it in the camera and focus so that you can see. Where's my camera? Trying to get it so it focuses on the plant, not me. Anyway, you can see that it's shriveled up. So it would go in there as well. And in all honesty, they're all going to have an opportunity to go in my glass jar and set for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now, I will do this typically about twice a week, sometimes depending on in the wintertime, sometimes more, sometimes less. In the summertime, I'll do it about once every 2 weeks because the air has more moisture in it. Right now with the furnace running, it's really dry in the house. So those are the plants we have today to talk about. If you'd like to do a little research, it's called a Tillandsia, and I'd be curious to hear any comments or any information you find out that's interesting about the Tillandsia, or any other kinds of plants that you can think of and how they grow. Remember, wash your hands, don't touch your face. We'll see you real soon.